Welcome to my channel. Today we will talk about pictures which I colored in November. Let's start from the autumn theme, and here I have this small set of postcards created by Karolina Kubikovska. Actually, I decided spontaneously to color postcard from this set because I wanted to test my Kolorowanka watercolors. I purchased several colors. I have heard various opinions about those paints. Someone loves them because of the unusual colors. Someone said that they are too opaque and too different from our traditional transparent watercolors. So I was curious. I purchased several colors, and some of them have those pastel muted colors which I considered perfect for a wintry or autumn background. I wanted to test them on good watercolor paper, so this set of postcards, it was perfect for my purposes. I selected page with mutant fox. I do love animals created by Karolina, but sometimes I am not very inspired by background. Here we had only leaves, branches, and that's all. But this one worked quite well with my paints. I selected those muted blue colors together with one purple blended together. Then I added white gouache to make impression of more wintry background. And then I got this idea that maybe where this fox, where it's looking at, I decided that maybe there are some last autumn berries, so I added them with a red pencil and a red Posca, and in such way when I invented a little bit of story behind the page, it was much more interesting for me to color. So I think that it was really a good decision to add those berries. For the fox I used pencils, mostly Derwent drawings. I know that they work well on this paper, and I love to use them for main colors, but then on top I prefer to use also polychromos pencils when I need to add more texture, individual furs, especially long hairs here. So it's a mix of Derwent drawings and polychromos pencils. Lovely page. I can't say that I fall in love with Kolorowanka watercolors. I am glad that I purchased those muted colors which I really needed to extend my palette, where I mostly have very vibrant colors, and sometimes you really want to have pre-mixed pastel blue for the background, for example for the snow, or pastel lilac, but I'm not sure that I need more of them. They are interesting, but indeed I am more used to our traditional transparent paints, and for opaque paints I have gouache. But it was interesting to get first acquaintance with these paints, and it helped me to do another postcard. Here I have already quite a lot of finished cards. Maybe one day I will finish the whole set. Now let's move to Symphony of Cute Animals. Yes, that's Symphony of Cute Animals by Kanoko Igusa, but just without the dust cover. I am currently working in this book, so dust cover I put aside. You can see that here I finished spread, and I started from the right side. It was quite spontaneous. I wanted to do this page with phones and various mushrooms, toadstools, but I didn't know what to do with the background. Usually all my backgrounds in this book, they are either blue or green, different hues of these colors, but still very limited color choice. Now I decided that I want to do something more fantasy, something more adventurous, because yes, I think that we have a fantasy forest here. If you look at the size of the phone and size of the snail, comparing them, and the size of the mushroom, I think that it's something magical. So I decided to use watercolors. I already tested watercolors on this paper, and I knew that you can use them, you won't damage paper, paints won't bleed through, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to have very plain coverage without sharp borders between colors. Paper absorbs paint quite quickly, so I decided that watercolor will go as an underpaint for the first layer, and on some areas where I lacked dark colors, where I lacked contrasts, I simply added a little bit of polychromasis to make background even more spectacular and more colorful. When I was very happy with my background, with my experiment, I was afraid that maybe it's too active for the mushrooms, but I think that in the end everything worked quite well, maybe thanks to the very vibrant colors which I selected for the three most important toadstools here. So, quite happy with the experiment with watercolor and with the final look of this one. Then, as I filmed this picture as a tutorial for Patreon, I decided that maybe it would be difficult for them to follow this background, even if I used Royal Talents Van Gogh watercolors, caput mortuum, a little bit of red oxide and violet, so quite popular paints. I decided to do something similar, but just with pencils. So here you can see that the background on the left, similar in water to my right side, but this one I did with pencils. You know, I do love them separately, maybe together because they have such a different style of pictures. Maybe they don't look nice with the same color of the background and different pictures. But, well, again here my first thought was do light blue background. But it's so boring. Yes, maybe it would be better contrast to the cat, to umbrellas, but just not interesting to color. So now I have this very colorful set of umbrellas and cutest animals. Maybe squirrel is a little bit lost, but at least mouse and cat, they are nicely visible. And I decided to emphasize again connection between two pages by doing this umbrella with similar spots in the same colors as I did the toadstools. So apart from those doubts about two pictures with the same color for the background, was it a good idea or not, I really love this result. First, it's a good progress because during last months I abandoned this book and I promised myself to do pictures in it through the whole year, because again it's one of the books where I enjoy to color. Maybe one day I will finish it, but it won't be very soon. Anyway, that was another good set to include in my autumn pictures collection. But it's not my favorite autumn picture. My favorite picture I did in Nelko Neko. I dedicated it to Thanksgiving. You can see this cute pair of cats and a lot of interesting vegetables and fruits. Usually I would say that I had enough of all those pumpkins and I never enjoyed doing corn, but here the artist depicted corn so in such a nice way that it was a lot of fun to color it. When I color corn in Teresa Goodrich, my corn it always look flat and not very realistic, but here I think that I did a good job because I was really inspired by the beautiful initial line art. I also love to color berries, so contrast of yellow-green colors of leaves and orange pumpkins, I think that it worked quite well with different colors of berries. You can see that I had a lot of fun by doing different color for grape, for smaller berries, and of course those cats. I think that they look very adorable in those old style clothes. I imagine that we have here maybe velvet or some other fabric, and I decided that maybe the whole picture is so colorful. I did everything with Prismacolors, that for the background I need only a little bit of color around the main image. So this very light shading I added with a little bit of pigment from Derwent Graphitin pencil. It's barely visible mix of blue and purple. In November, I received several new books, and I realized that I have books by Paul Brun already for several months. Maybe the first one I already have for years, and I even hadn't tested paper yet. So it was time. I decided to do a very small page in Fall Fragile, and I selected those flowers. I, as usual, forgot the correct name of the flower in English, but I have a lot of good memories about this one. We have such flower in our forest. It's also endangered, but when I was small, I remember that my father and we took bicycles, we went in the depths of the forest, and it was still possible to find such flowers, to admire them together with other rare plants, so it was possible to look at them at that time. Already they were protected, there were people who tried to stole them, but well, I don't know what now happens with them, because I know that many areas of the forest where we were able to find them now. Maybe there are already buildings in those areas, so I guess that now they are even more rare. But they are really very beautiful, very tender, with all those like very thin, interesting leaves. And as I said, I had a lot of good memories. They are very unique. They also look like covered by wool, a little bit fluffy even. Very beautiful flowers. I hope that soon they will be more protected. Well, about technical side, I decided to use Derwent Inktense for the flowers because, of course, most of all, I was curious how water-based art supplies would behave here. We have many big pictures and even spreads, so when you can work with watercolors or at least with water-soluble pencils, it's much easier and much quicker. I was very pleased with the paper and with all pencils which I used here. Yes, budget wax pencils like Castle Art, it was a little bit difficult to blend with it, but as addition to Prismacolors and Polychromoses, they also worked here. So I am pleased with my first test. Definitely after all this Christmas madness, somewhere in March, I intend to dive into both books by Paul Brun. They are beautiful, they have nice quality, and you know that I love to color plants, I love to color animals, so they definitely deserve my attention. Now, Ivy. Finally, after a couple of failed attempts to do something decent in Ivy, I did a nice page. I can't say that it's 100% perfect, but I decided to experiment again on this page because for me the initial look of it was quite empty. We had only the golden goblet and we have ivy and mouse, nothing beneath the goblet, nothing behind. I decided to follow a story that they were completely wet, so that's why I have those drops of water, and we are inside the dragon castle or dragon palace. I decided to add some textures and I wasn't able to decide to add stones or to add wallpapers. Maybe it looks a little bit strange now when I combine them, but at least I practiced how to do both textures. Some elements I did simply with Prismacolors, just like I did in the golden goblet. The main background I did with pencils, and on top of them, or maybe even with watercolor, I don't remember, oh my god. Doesn't matter, because on top I used stencil with ornament which could be similar to a wallpaper design, and I used wax crayons. I filmed video about my experience of using stencils, so it's a good example how I experiment with them, sometimes with more success, sometimes something doesn't work, but I think that it's an interesting addition to my coloring stash and it helps to do such kind of background. At least now it doesn't look empty. I really wanted to do the left side also, but didn't have enough time again with all our blackouts, but I will do it because I love finished spreads. Unfortunately, in November I did only one page in the books by Russell Hampson and it was lost and found. I already did a couple of pages inside, but now I decided that I want to decorate the title page because I really love such pages where we have collages. This one reminded me about old collages made with scraps of old yellowed paper. That's why I decided to add a little bit of distress ink to make paper a little bit more old and dirty. Not very successful, but similar to what I wanted to achieve. But I enjoyed doing the main image with polychromos pencils as usual. I decided that everything will be in dark and muted colors, like those scraps of paper and other random elements, and mostly only insects and this bottle, they are vibrant. You know that I love to color metals, so I enjoy doing watches, keys, lock. Easy work, and finally at least one of my books, it has decent title page. I would also call page which I did in Colorless Kingdom as an autumn because I actually wanted to color it for the Day of Death, which is probably the 1st of November if I remember correctly. But I managed to finish it in time for 1st of December. But I'm happy with the result. When I looked at this page, I absolutely loved everything here. Her face, her dress, her hairstyle, and of course her beautiful crown made of marigolds. But I was terrified because marigolds, they consist of so many petals, so I imagined that it would be a long coloring. In the end I filmed 5 parts and I think that maybe I had to color it even more slow to get better texture on those flowers which are slightly behind. But especially considering thin paper which we have in Colorless Kingdom, I think that the result is pretty good. As usual, I used a little bit of markers. They helped me on the background, on the dress. I used a mix of polychromos pencils and Derwent drawings for the skin and mask, and polychromoses for the rest. Creamy pencils like drawings, they really help to smooth a little bit, to cover imperfections where I have more visible pencil strokes, and it's really very important on the skin. And with their nice thin tip, it's even quite easy to color all those petals. I'm happy that I decided to stay in a limited color palette because I thought about doing some orange and some more wine red flowers, but no, I looked at this book. There are similar pictures where we have other beautiful girls with flower wreaths, flower crowns. There maybe I will use red flowers. Here I am happy with the classical look of marigolds, which are very popular here in Ukraine. They are important flower in our culture, so I was happy to color them, even if in the beginning I was terrified when I looked at all those tiny narrow petals in the middle and rows levels of more white petals. But I think that it's definitely one of my best works in Colorless Kingdom series. I was very happy when I finished it and didn't mess up. And now we can finally go to my winter pictures. Quite surprisingly, I started to color in Mice Before Christmas, book which I received 2 years ago, I think, or maybe a year ago. But I absolutely loved those pictures, but I was a little bit confused how to color such a dark grayscale. Initially, all illustrations they were made by Wendy Adelson in watercolor, in full color, and then they were turned into grayscale book. For me, grayscale here, maybe it's too dark for my taste. And for such pictures, I think that many of the images it would be much easier to color them if they have bigger size. You will see that I mostly selected those pictures where we have mice approximately in this size. Lovely pictures, but when I think how I can color grayscale and in such small size, all those folds on the fabric, texture, well, I don't think that it's very easy. So the idea of the book is really great, but I would make some improvements. It would be much easier to color it. But still, I managed to color a couple of pictures, and with those pictures, I even managed to use budget pencils. I decided that if Arteza are good for my Tatiana Bogema books, they also could be good for this style of pictures. They are vibrant, they are creamy, and they cover paper nicely. When I needed more hard tip of the pencil for texture, I also combined Arteza with Sucolor pencils. So you can see that now I have I think that it's uncle and aunt or something like this. They started to decorate building, and I also have Mama and Papa who started to decorate Christmas tree. Very lovely. Maybe I will also do this one, but well, I have to think, because can I color those tiny mice? They are smaller comparing to those bigger, so it's slightly challenging. Here again I used budget pencils. I didn't know what to do with the empty upper part of the background until I decided that I can add behind the Christmas tree light yellow, like it's already shining with light garlands. I think that it's added nice touch to the whole page. It was slightly messy, not all the elements were nicely visible on the bottom here again, because grayscale is a little bit too strong for my taste. But paper is lovely, and it was a big surprise for me how I managed to do it. I think that maybe I can use this trick by doing first grayscale shading on the clothes and then put pencils on top. On my other books, which are line art, because I think that here colors look very nice. Shading really helped mouse to look three-dimensional. All shadows on the clothes, they are nicely visible, exactly how I prefer them. So it gave me a lot of ideas how I can maybe use this trick of pre-shading for my future colorings. Here is my new book by Crystal Vogel, and it's completely dedicated to Christmas elves and their fun activities. I did 2 pictures. One recent with the star children, where I used watercolor for the background. You know, yes, it helped me to color quicker. I do love color palette here. Watercolor for the snow, it definitely was a success. It's a regular watercolor from Ukrainian brand. We have some of the paints with pastel colors where blue or violet color is blended with white, so they have those pleasant, very helpful pastel colors, which I love to use for shading on the snow. On the sky, I used 2 shades of violet, and here, well, I was slightly surprised. Some areas they looked glossy, where appeared those tiny pools of water and pigment. I think that even if it helped me to color quicker, I much more prefer my second work, which I did completely with pencils. It looked more tidy, I don't know, I had more control over the coloring. This one is sweet and I love this idea. Every time it's really challenging to select colors for Crystal Vogel pictures. They are very detailed, even a little bit crowded, but I think that here I at least worked on this contrast between star children, maybe they are star elves, who went to visit their relatives, those Christmas elves, so I made difference in color of their clothes and it worked nicely. But as I said, another work I prefer a little bit more. I decided to save my Prismacolors or polychromoses and to test Arctic's pencils for the background. In Arctic's set there are very pleasant helio turquoise shades of pencils. I think that there is light and dark. They work nicely together, so they helped me to do the background. The rest I did with polychromoses. For the snow I used light shades of Prismacolors. Those videos, they are on my channel. If you have this book, you are lucky, just like I consider lucky myself, because book is beautiful. And if you want to, you can follow. Of course, I plan to color much more in this book in December. And there are pictures here which are not connected to the Christmas tree, which don't have presents or ornaments. They only have fun winter activities like skating, doing something interesting in the forest, meeting friends, so I intend to continue coloring in it also during other winter months. Paper is really good, binding is perfect, and size of picture also is good. Yes, pictures are very detailed, so don't expect very quick coloring, but I really love this size of books. Next, Morgan O'Brien. This book, I really like it, but unfortunately I don't color in it very frequently, because here we have northern elves and I mostly color in it only in December. Now I did two pictures where elves, they are caring about various forest inhabitants. They are caring about little owlets here, very lovely, very simple but still very lovely. At least here you can color very quickly. And another one where they delivered presents to family of rabbits. It was definitely very relaxing coloring, nothing complicated. And now I have two more pictures for this book. Finally, another Christmas page which I managed to do in November. It's in Christmas charm. It looked very simple, so I decided that it would be a good start for the Christmas coloring season, but in the same time I tried to make it quite festive, so I paid a lot of attention to the garland, to the wreath which decorate to the door, and even for the door I selected quite festive colors. I was slightly confused by those huge snowflakes, but I think that in the end, when I sprinkled white gouache everywhere, they quite nicely follow the rest of this page. I do love those pine trees here with a lot of snow. It really have very nice Christmas atmosphere, and even the sleeping dog, which I usually don't enjoy to color, because these dogs, I have multiple similar dogs in all books by Teresa Goodrich, like copy of one another, but here I think that it added a nice touch here. Lovely start, and of course I hope that I will do something also in December. Give me a moment to find my final book. It will be a moment of advertising. I recently finished another Christmas project. I am 100 or maybe 200% proud of this one. It's Neko picture. Quite soon videos will be ready, so if you want to color this page together with me, I invite you to my Patreon. And if you want to color another one where I currently work, it's a spread in Symphony of Cute Animals. It also will be on Patreon. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching my November videos. In December I will start to film videos about all my collection of books, about all my colored pictures. So I hope that in December I also will be able to provide you with some interesting and inspiring videos. Thanks for watching, and until the next videos.